long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Two people made a podcast, and those people are me, Jack Cluth.
And me, Lauren Wersher.
And this is Ravings and Reviews.
That was a very good intro.
I tried. I really tried this time.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess right now we can introduce the fact that we have a special guest with us.
Yes,
Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Kaitlyn. I'm planning on majoring in film production. And recently I watched Back to the Future because it was Back to the Future Day the other day.
Oh yeah,
nice,
it was.
Nice. Was it really?
I think so.
Oh,
October
21st.
21st. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so if you weren't clued in by the wonderful intro that Jack did, we are officially starting our first series, I guess you could say, on the podcast.
Yes.
So Kaitlyn is going to be with us, and we are going to be reviewing Star Wars. So today we've started with the first prequel, which is The Phantom Menace, that came out in 1999. So this film was directed and written by George Lucas. Obviously, the man is Star Wars, among other things, and is produced by Rick McCallum and stars the likes of Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman, and Ewan McGregor, which very, very, very big actors for this movie.
All sorts of big names in this
All
movie.
sorts of big names.
You can't see me smiling under the mask, but I am just grinning from ear to ear. At the prospect of talking about this movie.
Yeah,
the minute you said
fun.
George Lucas, my face just lit up. This movie, man.
Yeah, this movie. So we'll start off with kind of some first impressions. So, I mean, all of us, we've obviously seen this movie before, but what are some of your first impressions about it, like face value?
I saw this movie a long time ago when I was really young, and I really liked it back then. Like, the prequels are my favorite.
Yes.
When I was a kid. 100%. Attack of the Clones, that was my favorite movie. It's been many a year since then, and I think it's fair to say my opinions changed just a little bit about the prequels. Maybe just a little bit. How about you guys? Kaitlyn, you were the one that recommended this series. What are your thoughts on Star Wars as a whole, and then The Phantom Menace?
Well, first and foremost, the prequels would have been way better without Jar Jar Binks.
Oh,
we can talk about that later on,
100%.
but yes.
Yeah, that's a whole big rant tangent waiting to happen.
That's going to happen, yeah.
I mean, the story's alright. I realized that they had limited stuff to work with because they were trying to explain the originals.
Yeah.
But boy, did they hire somebody who couldn't write.
Oof.
And didn't know how to do graphics or anything.
Yeah, in case you couldn't pick up on my sarcasm at the beginning, this movie is 100% awful. It is so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I can appreciate it for what it was. Like, just in the prequels in general, I can appreciate them for what they were trying to do, which was to explain the three Star Wars movies that already existed, like explain Darth Vader's origins, Luke and Leia's origins, basically making the movies that already existed make sense. But they didn't exactly, I mean, they worked, like, from story purposes, but the execution of the actual movies themselves were a bit weird. I guess then we can just kind of jump right into it. This movie's not perfect. Like, it's not,
That's a wee bit generous.
It's generous, yeah. I always try to look on the bright side with movies because, like, you know, it takes a lot to make a movie. Like, a lot of money, a lot of time, especially a movie like this that's not set in the real world. Like, it's Star Wars. Like, it's set in space.
This movie was a success. It made all its money back.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But
And we can discuss this in greater detail later, but there is starting to be a renaissance, I think, of people that genuinely think the prequels are actually underrated and quite good. And we can talk about that later. I'd say that Phantom Menace, it made its money back. People remember it. People quote it.
People quote it.
No one will ever forget this movie. So bravo, George.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah, he made this movie remarkably unforgettable. Maybe not necessarily for the reasons that most people would have expected, but you are correct in saying that it is very hard to forget a movie like this.
I watched, because I had heard about this from another podcast I listened to online. I heard about this clip about George Lucas watching the first ever rough cut premiere of this movie with just him and his producers and editors. And I was like, oh my God, I need to watch this. It is one of the funniest things ever. The pure amount of horror on George Lucas's face. He's shocked by what he's created. And the producers are mad. They're telling him, they're like interviewing to the camera. We should have said no. We should have told him no, but we didn't. We let him do this.
No.
George Lucas is talking to the editor saying, okay, well, we have 4 different incredibly emotional tones going on at the same time at the end of this movie. How can we fix it? And the editor's like, you can't fix it, George. This is the movie you wanted to make. This is the movie I had to edit for you. There's no way to edit around it. This isn't something you can fix in post, George. You have created this monster. It is hilarious.
And it's just this movie. Or is it all the prequels or just this movie?
I don't know what his reaction was to the other ones, but specifically this one, before the other 2 had even come out, before it had even premiered in theaters, they were watching it. Yeah.
That is rough.
It is really funny.
Ooh.
Severely funny.
God, I almost feel bad. Like, it's almost like, wow.
Yeah, there's an argument to make.
I feel like I shouldn't like this movie, but, like, it does have at least some redeeming qualities. Like we said, it's literally, like, unforgettable, and it's still very, like you said before, like, it's very quotable. There are many funny lines that are very fun to quote, and, like, it's still able to be remembered, maybe not for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But
all right, so I guess if we're on the topic, let's say of positives right now, I have just a tiny feeling that there's going to be a little bit more negative to talk about in this movie.
Yeah.
So let's get our few, if any, positives out of the way. Kaitlyn, is there anything you like about this movie, or things that you think?
The way you worded
anything that you no, like, genuinely, like, just, like, in your opinion, like, which, oh my God. Are there any elements that you like? Is there any, like, concepts that you think are cool? Any, like anything?
I mean, I have to admit, I do like Ewan McGregor a lot.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the best rendition of Obi-Wan.
Yep, 100%.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I would say the named actors do a lot for these movies, like Liam Neeson, Natalie Portman, Ewan McGregor. Like, I might this might be a controversial statement, but I do think Natalie Portman does well in this movie. I feel like I don't know. I like Natalie Portman.
No, I like Natalie Portman too. I love Liam Neeson as well, and Ewan McGregor. He is Obi-Wan now.
Yes,
like,
he is. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I've got about 2 or 3 positives. Number 1, the score.
Yes.
Is beautiful.
Okay. Yep. Exactly.
The score has no reason to be in a movie this bad. It is fantastic. Okay, it is phenomenal. I think everybody can. I don't think anybody thinks the music is bad in this film.
No.
Specifically songs like Duel of the Fates.
Oh God, Duel of the Fates.
Just incredible.
Yes.
Super good, and it adds so much more emotion than this film has earned or deserves. But when you put that music in the background, it makes you almost like want to care, even though it's almost impossible. So the music's great. What do you guys think of, like, the pod racing? Because I think that set piece is kind of good.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the pod racing scene was one of the good, or one of the better scenes in the movie that used, I think it used, like, a combination of, like, practical and CG stuff. Obviously CG, because you can't have a child just, like, going around in this just, it wouldn't even work. Like, it's not even, like, a feasible object to drive.
No, yeah.
But I feel like that was one of the scenes that did well with the CG. There are other scenes in this that are there's some very, very bad CGI stuff. It is not. But yeah, I feel like the pod racing scene does it well with that.
Yeah,
so.
I will say the pod racing scene is by no means perfect. There's
No.
a lot of dumb stuff, and it almost ruins it. But the pod racing scene is just such a fun concept, and it fits that Star Wars kind of campiness.
It does, yeah.
Really good. You know, not politics of trade routes and taxation, which is what the other half of this movie is about.
Yeah,
when they're just doing a race, that's really fun, and it's easily the best part of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What do you think of the pod race, Kaitlyn?
I like the pod races a lot. You know, one of the comments that I made when I was watching this movie is that pod racing is like NASCAR but cooler.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it's NASCAR with less sponsors.
Space NASCAR.
Thanks, NASCAR.
100%. NASCAR, there's not people sniping at you from the distant hilltops. You can't attach, chainsaws to your race car in NASCAR. I would agree.
I mean, this movie also does introduce a lot of, like, memorable characters, too, that don't really... I mean, obviously, it introduces Anakin Skywalker, the Qui-Gon Jinn, the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I think, I really like Darth Maul, too. Darth Maul is really cool. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
And, this is the only movie that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the only Star Wars movie that he's in, which I feel like is a crime that he's in one of the worst prequels, yet he's one of the coolest characters.
Yeah.
But
I almost feel like they should go back and do like an origin story for him.
yeah, or like
They did one for Anakin. Why can't they do one for Darth Maul?
he just kind of shows up with Palpatine. Like he's there. Like we get no context of like who he is,
It's like,
why
I
he's
have an
there.
apprentice. Yeah, he's
He
right
looks-
here. He kind of just happened.
He looks scary.
He is absolutely
End of story.
scary.
That's the only thing he's got.
Yeah.
I know, like, personally, Darth Maul doesn't do anything for me. When I was a kid, favorite bad guy ever.
Well, yeah.
So cool.
He looks cool.
He had the freaking double-bladed lightsaber.
Yes.
It's just the coolest possible thing.
That is one of the coolest lightsabers.
It is. And
right
back
next to Kylo Ren's.
Right.
Right next to.
Actually, yeah. And back when this movie came out, all the other lightsabers have just been straight sticks. So to see like a cool double-bladed one is just, when you're a kid, it's like, oh my God, this is the best character I've ever seen, ever portrayed in film. And now a little bit, his design is very scary.
Yeah, like I would love to meet the person who designed like his makeup and his design and everything, like because it's really cool and very, very, very unique.
The whole visual style of him is very nice. It's what makes the character. Because let's say that he had just had a question mark CGI inserted over his character for the whole movie. No one would remember Darth Maul. I'm sorry. He's got he's got about 2 lines in the whole film.
Yeah.
And he probably takes up a total runtime of about 6 minutes, being generous, out of this 2.5 hour long movie.
That's true. Yeah, but he is also like those 6 minutes. Like he's doing a lot. Like he's fighting with lightsabers, and then he does eventually make one of the biggest change. I don't know. Spoiler warning. We should have said this before, but yeah, this is spoilers for the Phantom Menace. He does kill Qui-Gon Jinn, which is also really sad because I liked Liam Neeson in this movie.
Yeah. No, you're right. The scenes that he's on screen are extremely action-packed.
And I think that's the reason he's so memorable, is that even though he doesn't have that much screen time, he's for the things that he did and the cool things that happened while he was on screen, people remember those scenes, therefore remembering him.
You're right. He's kind of like the savior of the movie, because the minute you see him, you go, oh my God, something cool is going to happen. We don't have to. We don't have to listen to trade negotiations and signing a treaty contract between 2 planets that I quite frankly don't care about. I get to see cool lightsaber stuff, and that's the effect on the movie that he has for me.
When they're running through the ship room, and then all of a sudden the doors open, and there's Darth Maul, and then you start to hear Duel of the Fates playing. You're like, it's happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This movie's getting good.
I like how they slow that scene down by having all of those doors.
Oh my God! Yes.
And then Obi-Wan gets stuck behind one of the doors and has to watch
yeah.
Qui-Gon die.
Yeah, there's a series of laser doors. As they're dueling, they go through a series of these laser doors, which, again, Like, why
Very
are they
strange.
there?
Like, why?
Why are they? What's their function? What's their purpose? I don't know. It leads to a coolish scene. I don't know why they're there.
Yeah, you're like,
to
why?
protect the endless pit at the end.
Yeah, the literal endless pit. At
The
the end.
literal just bottomless pit.
Yeah, and what happens is Obi-Wan gets stuck behind the last set of laser doors, and he watches his mentor, die in front of him.
Yeah, honestly, that scene's really sad, and I felt really bad. Like, I was just like, wow, like Obi-Wan didn't have a huge part in this movie. I mean, he was mostly there just kind of to be established as Qui-Gon's apprentice and then mentor to Anakin Skywalker. But I mean, he still had an impact on what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, he ended up killing Darth Maul. So
yeah,
yeah,
he did.
Yeah, but I will agree with you. His impact in this movie compared to the other prequels, he's the least interesting in this one. I feel like because Qui-Gon kind of takes center stage a little bit. So yeah, like you said, when you get to see him kind of step up and take the place of Qui-Gon, that's really when he starts to come to the forefront of the prequels, I'd say. Yeah.
Okay, do we have any more positives, or should we maybe take a break and then come back for the negatives?
Anything? Do we like any of the city designs, character designs?
Yes, we should talk about that. I do like the designs of, like, this movie does use, like, their extras really well. And, like, they do a good job of, like, making everything feel very uniform and feeling like they're actually in the action. Mm-hmm. Like, the set design of this movie is very good. Like, when, like, going back to the pod racing scene, like, when they're going around and, like, going through all these different landscapes, like, they look super cool. Mm-hmm. And, like, you're going through the town and looking at all, like, the different shops and different people that are there. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. I like them a lot.
Did you guys ever play the Lego Star Wars games?
Yes, those were my entire childhood.
Yeah, same here. The set design, like you said, and just the overall look and world of the film, and I shouldn't say look because it looks pretty bad, but some of the concepts for the buildings and the way different planets look, I do like. It's like, yeah, this is Star Wars. Like, you see it and you go, oh yeah, that's a Star Wars planet right there. And I don't know if that's just because of my, like, devout love of the prequels when I was young, and also playing that video game. Yeah. Running through the different levels of the prequels in the video game has really ingrained them and seared them into my brain.
Basically. Like, as soon as you see, like, the rounded houses or, like, or everything just in dirt, you immediately think, oh, Star Wars.
Right, right. But I do think that some of the designs of the different planets and cities, I think there's some nice stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't always come out as good as you might hope, but no, I'd say the production design is decent. Yeah. All right. We're ending on decent in terms of quality for this movie. So we're going to take a quick music break, and we will be right back to discuss more of this groundbreaking film.
Woo. All right, we are back.
We're back to make fun of a movie.
We are back to finally talk about some of our negative gripes with the Phantom Menace. Mm-hmm. Where do we want to start with this?
If you don't mind, I would like to say my first point, because it is literally the opening crawl of the movie. I took issue with the opening crawl of the movie.
Oh my god.
Okay. No, just hear me out. This movie has the most boring opening crawl of all time.
Is it longer than all the others?
It's not longer, but it says nothing. The last sentence: 2 Jedi are sent as ambassadors to investigate blah blah. That's the only interesting part of the whole thing. It opens with, turmoil has engulfed the Galactic Republic. Strong start. Okay? You're setting up that things are not looking good, so therefore conflict can arise. Okay? Looking good. The taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems is in dispute. And that's where it all falls apart. It is the most boring opening. What kid cares about the taxation of trade routes to outlying star systems that are in dispute.
It's like, just give me some lightsaber battles already.
Honestly, yeah, just something other than space politics.
It feels like they were trying to cram in like a government lesson.
Yeah.
Like, kids watch Star Wars, but they know nothing about the government. Here, let's mix them.
Yeah, let's shove heavy political undertones into this Star Wars movie. While Jar Jar Binks runs around one scene, we can then cut to the importance of democracy and anti-corruption in the government system.
No.
We're gonna implant these kids' minds. They're just gonna be laughing at Jar Jar, but really, they're gonna be learning all about the dangers of. I don't even know what, George. What were you going for here, man?
Yeah, like, I remember, like, the entire, like, council meeting scene. That, like, even though we talked about this before, like, the setting of that entire, like, council room is very cool. Like,
I agree.
them all in the pods and stuff like that. But, oh my god, it is the most boring scene in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, they literally is just, like, they're just yelling, or, like, they're just yelling back and forth, like, we should not do this, blah, blah, blah. And then someone's like, we do not allow this person to speak right now. You're like,
yeah.
What is going on here?
Like it's like a courtroom drama.
Yeah.
Like, in the middle of this Star Wars movie. I don't know, Kaitlyn, did any of the space politics really connect with you in any way, shape, or form?
No.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I wish
Simple
they
answer,
would
no.
have taken that out. That part of it is so boring.
It is. And
It's what dragged this movie down, I think, is what that boring, like, space politics subplot.
Big time. That's what the whole plot is really centered around. And it diverges massively when they get to Tatooine. It's like the whole middle of the movie kind of just it just drops the political war going on, and we're just focused on this little pocket of Tatooine.
Yeah, it feels like a weird roller coaster. Like, you start off, like, in the middle, then it kind of drops a little bit when they're talking about the politics for the first time. Then they land on Tatooine, and then it goes back up with, like, the pod racing and everything. Then it just dives when it gets to there, and then it gets back up with, like, the Duel of the Fates part. So it's just a weird roller coaster of emotions that we experience.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but when they're panning to the right, I believe it is, there's 2 CGI characters that look like E.T.
Oh, I have heard about that Easter egg.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen that before, but I've heard of it, yeah. Yeah, in the big council area, yeah.
Nice. Kaitlyn, would you like to talk about Jar Jar Binks now?
Oh, it's my favorite thing to complain about.
All right, we're going to talk about Jar Jar Binks now and why this character is
possibly the worst character ever put on the silver screen.
Probably, it's one of the biggest reasons why I don't like this movie.
Take it away, Kaitlyn.
Take it away, Kaitlyn.
Well, I just want to start out with the comment that I wrote the first time I saw Jar Jar Binks, which was, every time he talked or was on screen, I died a bit.
That is extremely accurate.
How did you make it to the end of the movie?
just completely, just mentally, just brain dead. You're like, I don't.
Probably took 20 years off of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like his way of speaking is just so strange. And we were talking about this walking here. You said that they made it like to be a character like Yoda.
Yeah, Yoda. Since a lot of people liked Yoda, there's like, hey, we're gonna make a character kind of like him, with the weird language thing, but he's also like a cool creature. But they
failed
Didn't
miserably.
do well.
Yeah, that guy ain't cool. He's a lot of things, but he ain't cool. I love Yoda in the original movies. He's so funny. He's this little like hermit, but at the same time, he's like the knower of all things, the Prometheus. He knows everything, and
Jar Jar's just a nuisance.
Jar Jar is just one screw up after another.
Oh my god. I almost feel bad because I'm like, I mean, at least he's trying. Like, he's doing his best, but he's just not. He's just not.
Are you talking about the actor or like the
literal
character in the film?
The literal character of Jar Jar Binks. Like, he's trying. Like, he's doing his best. Like, he's trying to be grateful to Qui-Gon for saving him when he almost died at the hands of droids. But, like, no. Jar Jar made me not like this movie. It's just, The way he speaks. The way he speaks.
I wrote down some of my favorite Jar Jar quotes of the film, if you'd like to hear them. There were way too many to even remotely
Are you going to do them in a voice, or are you going
Would
to
you
just
like me
read
to do them in a voice?
I don't know if I should say yes.
Going through the planet core. Bad bombing.
No!
Number 1. Dads, what's a Mesa saying?
Oh my god, we're gonna take forever if you keep doing that.
Number 3. Well, that smells stinkereth. And number 4, my personal favorite, when he walks into the spaceship and sees all the astromech droids standing in the corner. Hello, boyos. Hello, boyos.
Boyos.
Is a classic line.
Boyos.
It is atrocious.
There's also, my give up.
Oh, yeah. Not give up.
My give up. Oh my god. The way he speaks is like, it's almost like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, it really
You're just
is.
kind of like, stop talking.
Not just him, though, because when they go down to that planet and, like, Jar Jar's talking to the other people, that whole conversation, I don't think I understood a word of it.
No,
Yeah.
like, whenever he's talking to another Gungan, like, you can't understand what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then they always end the conversation with, like, rah, 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 rah,
Yeah,
or something like
shaking
that.
their jowls
Just
around.
shaking their just mouths, and you're like, ew, please.
Yeah.
Gross. There was speaking of weirdly jarring voices, how about the Viceroy?
Viceroy Gunra. Oh, yes, Viceroy.
Their voices are so strange.
Yeah.
Like, they're just the way that they say things is just so unnatural. And I mean, I get it, they're not like humanoids, but still, like the Senate, like they just
Yeah.
It's their
The
voices
Senate.
are just the Senate. Need the approval of the Senate. You're like, what are you saying?
Yeah, they have really weird like fluctuations on different parts of the word.
Yeah, it's almost like they emphasize they emphasize the wrong parts of their sentences.
Yeah.
And I think, that's the most unnerving thing. You're just like, why would you put so much of a lilt in your voice at the most unimportant word?
Yeah. Their mouths also.
Oh my
Because
god.
I don't even know what creatures they are. The Viceroy, these guys, they just look like really ugly lizards that are standing up. And their mouths, they're not CGI, funny enough, but their mouths, so the mouths are mechanic, and they don't even one time sync up with anything they're saying.
No.
It is really bad.
They might
It's
as
like,
well just sit with an open mouth. Like
It's like a bad, like, English dub over, like, an anime movie or something.
Oh my god.
That's more of what it's akin to than anything even remotely legible.
Yeah. Oh. I feel like I would enjoy this movie more if there weren't as many like jarring voices that like are borderline unable to understand. Like there's
jarring voices.
God. I was gonna say there's also Watto.
Oh yeah, Watto's.
Watto's voice is not good.
Watto's a classic character.
Watto is a very classic character. Also, still very strange. But yeah, no. I mean, he's at least like his voice is at least able to like you can understand it some of the time. With like Jar Jar and the other guys, like you're just like what are you saying? Like you what you're saying makes absolutely no sense to me.
Watto annoys me infinitely less than Jar Jar.
Exactly.
I'd go as far as to say that Watto is one of my favorite characters in the prequel movies.
I mean, yeah,
He's
he's funny.
Hilarious.
Yes.
What on earth was George thinking with that character?
Him and his little wings.
His
Like,
little wings, his like weird like 5 o'clock shadow, his
ew.
elephant trunk.
Yeah, you're like, what? Like, who designed that character?
Yeah, it's like part elephant, part insect, part I don't even know.
Just like weird motel owner.
yeah.
It's just very, very strange. Like some of the designs of the characters in this movie, some of them are very notable, but others are just borderline strange.
Yeah. Who would you say your least favorite character is? Would you have to go with Jar Jar, or
Yes.
is there anyone that infuriates you more?
No, Jar Jar's the worst.
If let's take Jar Jar out of the equation, What would you say the second most annoying character is?
Well, the one you were just talking about, I forgot his name already.
Watto?
Yes. I could just imagine the pitch meeting for that character. Alright, so I need a character that's a mixture of three things, but also really ugly. Oh, okay, George.
Okay, George.
Yes, George.
Thank you. We've got this.
We believe in you.
Yeah. And I mean, I hate to call him an annoying character, but Jake Lloyd, the kid tries. He's not among the best kid actors, but you can still note that he tried.
I appreciate you trying to put a positive spin on this.
Yes,
Lauren.
well, because I can't. No, I'm not going to bully Jake Lloyd. I was
of
going
course
to.
not.
I
Yeah,
was going
yeah.
to going in because I was going to like say something about it going in, but then I was looking for more. I was looking for trivia questions for the end of this episode. And I found out that he literally retired from acting after this role because he was bullied.
You stole my trivia question. I was gonna ask you what actor suffered like emotional trauma after the filming of this movie. Apparently, when he'd go to school, kids would make fun of him for his performance. When he'd walk down the hall, they would make lightsaber noises at him.
Yeah, that's like terrible. How old was he when he filmed this?
Oh boy, I
He
don't
was
know.
like 9 or 10.
Yeah, I'd say probably around there.
I would feel terrible.
No, it's awful what happened to him. He developed schizophrenia, actually.
Oh my
later in his
God.
adult.
Yeah,
it's
no,
very sad.
we're not going to bully Jake Lloyd.
No.
He's a good kid, and granted, like being a child actor is extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I find like if I did acting as a child, which I did like theater when I was younger, and I still do theater now. But like if I did like acted in movies and stuff when I was younger, like that's like a really really hard thing to do.
It
like
is.
with all the pressure of being on set, like have like all with everybody around you, like it's a really really hard job, and you have to give credit where credit is due.
Yes, objectively, he delivers some of the worst line deliveries in the movie.
Yes,
but he's
he
9
does.
years old.
But he's 9.
You would expect the least experienced out of any situation to give the worst performance. So you're right. It's not fair to bully him for how objectively not good he was in the film. But like you said, he was a baby.
He's a literal baby, and you're like, I mean, you almost feel bad even bringing up the fact that like his line delivery wasn't great. You just kind of want to give him like a pat on the head and be like, it's okay, buddy. Like, you did great.
It's almost cruel that all the producers and the directors and the acting coaches like allowed this to happen, because that's on them. If he's not giving a good enough performance, or they know that this isn't good, that he's going to face like backlash and he's going to have to deal with this for the rest of his life. So for people to put him in this situation and then nobody is like, hey George, listen, if we keep this kid, he is going to ruin his life. People are going to mock him endlessly, because it's not exactly like, it's not a subtle bad line delivery. Every line,
it's literally
sounds
every
like a
line.
middle school play.
It's every line.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how often that happens with kid actors, though, because the girl who played Morgan Stark in Endgame, she got bullied right after Endgame came out, too.
Really?
Oh my god.
And Judy Garland, who's from Minnesota, also.
Oh, is she the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah, Dorothy the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
She got bullied, too.
Yeah, she had a rough life.
As much as I know people want to include child actors, it's not the best idea.
No.
Yeah, unless they've like they've done it before. Like I feel like, is this like Jake Lloyd's first and last, or did he do movies before this?
Oh boy, I want to say it was his first, and probably last. I don't think he did a whole lot.
Yeah, he said he retired after this movie. Like he completely like stopped acting after this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean it's.
Yeah.
I mean, we already talked about like the other characters that we can bully for
line
delivery.
Yeah, we're allowed to bully the adults.
We're allowed to. I mean, maybe not necessarily, but
bully's the wrong word.
Bully is the wrong word, but yeah. I almost feel like the three named actors make this a much more palatable watch, like with line delivery and acting and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is It is nice to watch Liam Neeson
Yes.
perform Qui-Gon Jinn.
He's such a good dad.
He's
such a good dad.
He's a good dad.
He's a good dad, and he's not going to see his poor little son grow up to be a Sith Lord. But you know what? It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, how did he get it so wrong?
Well, there's, he
was like,
threw
yes.
The Overlord down a pipe, so he technically brought balance to the Force. But then that complicates things even more when you bring in the sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Kind of ruins that arc, which is a whole giant can of worms that we're not going to discuss in this episode.
Qui-Gon, if you had just left the kid, the galaxy would be fine.
Yeah, Qui-Gon really messed up.
I think Qui-Gon really messed up here.
Yeah.
As we just got done saying, yeah, Liam Neeson's a good guy. We like him in this movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah. I also feel bad for Anakin's mom.
Yeah.
Shmi.
Shmi. She's so loving. She gives so much for her son and just wants the best for him and literally stays in slavery so that her son can train to be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
That is so much dedication. And then she just the Tusken Raiders kill her. And you're like, what? You're like, that's not okay.
It's kind of funny that you mentioned the mom, because one of the things that I wrote down when I was watching this movie is that mom lets random man that she's only met for a few days take her son because he won him from a race.
Oh, yeah. That is...
Oh, no.
That's a little sketchy.
It is
really
a little sketchy. But, you can tell, her intentions are pure. She's just take my son away from this terrible place where all people do is gamble and put people into slavery.
And he misbehaves, and I can't handle it anymore.
Right? He's building people, We haven't even talked about the droids, R2-D2 and C-3PO.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The other two, the little destroyer dudes and
yes.
the ones that are on the dark side. I don't know what their actual name is, but the tan-colored ones.
Yeah.
Oh, just regular battle droids?
Yes,
yeah.
I love those guys. Those guys are really funny.
Yeah.
Yes. I love the battle.
The clones.
Yeah,
the clones are not funny.
No. Well, they don't say anything.
That is true. They don't say anything until
the droids
the
say
sequels.
the droids make funny. They're hands up or they make funny noises.
Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
Yeah.
I would also say we were talking about the score earlier, but there is some weird sound mixing in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Very strange.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any, I was thinking about this as I was watching this movie. I was like, wow, if there's any two sounds that I can associate with the Star Wars movies, it's stock children sound footage.
Oh, that was really bad.
And the Wilhelm scream.
The Wilhelm scream is great.
Yes.
But it's an in-joke. Everybody...
It's an in-joke, yeah. But
the
stock children footage, stock children sounds.
They have the audacity to use the exact same sound effect, which has been used in hundreds of other movies. They have the audacity to not only use it, not just record regular children laughing, they use it twice. Almost within the same minute.
It's like this kid's laughing ha 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 ha, and then Anakin stops and says some things to his little friends on Tatooine, and then they use the same exact sound effect again.
I know.
And you're like, who decided that?
I know, and now that I'm trying to think about it, I won't be able to remember anymore. I know for a fact that sound effect was used in Nemo as well.
Yeah.
That exact same children laughing sound. It's just something that it just feels lazy.
Yeah, stock footage is if it's a stock sound effect, then I guess that's kind of what it's supposed to be used for. It's supposed to be filler for if you need something that you forgot to record or you're adding it in post or whatever.
Right.
But still, you could have maybe at least found another different sound effect rather than use the same one twice.
Yeah, stock sound effects are totally legitimate, especially when you have a smaller budget or you just don't have access to the materials to get certain sounds. But can't really say that's an excuse here.
Yeah.
They had millions of dollars.
Yes, they did.
Millions of dollars. And then to put something that unprofessional in it, it was just really distracting.
Yeah. There are also some lines in this movie, or there's some lines and sounds that are very clearly overdubbed. There especially some of Jake Lloyd's lines and some of the lines with actors that are wearing like huge prosthetic masks, and obviously a lot of the CG characters are all overdubbed because they're not necessarily real. But there was the one gripe I had with the sound of this movie. We talked about it. There is an amazing score for this movie. Why is there no music during the pod race until the very end?
I'm going to be real with you here. I really like that choice.
You did?
I like the sound design of the pod racers.
Really?
It's kind of cheesy and camp, but that's what Star Wars is, in my opinion.
Okay.
I like
I
the
get
fact
that.
that they don't have music in that scene. It lets them, experiment around with this kind of, the different sounding engines and the explosions. And honestly, when the music comes in, it makes it like more like cheesy in a way to me. It is the climax of the scene, but I was going to mention that actually.
I just feel like they could have done what they did with like Duel of the Fates in the like at the end of the movie, like where they use the music not as like a soundtrack but as just like ambiance for the for whatever's going on. Like in the pod racing, you're just getting like engine noises and random alien sounds.
Yeah.
Just random alien grunts. You're like, I could use at least a crumb of other sound here. Like at least a little bit. Like even if it was just like super quiet, like anything. I just need anything.
Yeah. Huh, that's interesting. Because I would have to say I disagree. I kind of like that there's no music in there. And I do not want to be the defender or the advocator of the prequels. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. It's not even like great sound design. I just kind of liked it.
Yeah. I guess we were kind of talking about it earlier, but we can kind of go around. What is your favorite quotable line from this movie? Doesn't have to be a Jake Lloyd line, just could be any quotable line.
Kaitlyn, do you want to start first, or do you need to think?
Maybe you could start first. I gotta figure out which one it is.
I was gonna say I wrote down a list of my favorites as well. If I have to pick one,
if you do a Jar Jar one, I'm going to wheeze
no, it won't
again.
be a Jar Jar one. He doesn't have the best lines in the movie. It would probably have to be "Are you an angel?"
Oh my God, we didn't even talk about
Jake
that.
Lloyd's line.
We were gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
We literally talked about it during our break. Padme and Anakin's relationship. You're.
It progressively gets worse.
It does. It progressively gets worse. Like, you're looking at this kid who's talking to this woman who's, what did you say?
She's
like
18.
And she's 18 and he's like 10. There is way too big of an age gap there. And yeah, the first thing he says to Padme is, "Are you an angel?"
I think that's the worst line in the entire movie.
Yeah, and then he follows it up with, "You." That's what people say is like, angels are the most beautiful creatures
in the whole galaxy.
You're like, thanks for calling her a creature.
Yeah, it's just cringe.
Yeah.
It was the line I laughed the hardest at.
I mean, you have to cut the kid some slack. The only other woman he's known is probably his mom.
Yes. Okay, that's true. That's very true. I would say if I was to pick my favorite quote, it would have to be around where he's like testing out the thing and just going, "It's working! It's working!"
Yeah, when he's getting the pod racer fired up.
Yeah, because I think that's one of his lines that has the most kind of energy to it. Like most of his lines are very stated, like facts and not a lot of like emotion behind it, but this one he does, and he's like, "It's working!" Like he's he's just very cute and funny, and I like him for that.
Yeah. You got one, Kaitlyn?
I remember C-3PO's line, like when they first turn him on. I remember that being pretty funny, but I forget what the quote was now.
I'm
something like,
C-3PO,
"Oh dear,
human cyborg relations."
Maybe it's not that one then. I don't know. This whole movie's a blur.
Yeah, we'll have to think about that for the next couple prequels, because the prequels are very, very quotable movies. I mean, we walked into the studio today quoting lines from the prequels because it does have some very, very good scenes and very infamous scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that Star Wars has stayed relevant for this long.
Yeah, it is. I would say with the prequels, it was not for the intended reasons.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, it is. People talk about this movie, man. This is never going to be something that's forgotten. Be that for better or
Yeah.
for worse.
Anyone else got anything to add on the panel here about anything, gripes, positives about the movie?
I mean, just a quick little thing. Like, I'm pretty sure if you were to take Qui-Gon Jinn and Thor and look at him from behind, you wouldn't be able to tell which is which.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn and Thor?
Yeah, because they both got that braided thing in the back.
Yeah, they do,
Oh, yeah,
don't
they do.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Just
It's kind of a
random
weird
thing.
little factoid.
Yeah. Caitlin, I actually have a question for you.
Oh boy.
Just panic.
No, don't worry about it. So, right when we started off the podcast, you were very eager to talk about Jar Jar Binks, and I don't blame you. He's awful. So, that being said, if Jar Jar Binks was not in the movie at all, he was completely removed, how much more would you like the movie? Do you think that he ruins the entire thing and is the main reason that it's bad? Or would you say that there's so many other negative aspects that just removing him doesn't fix anything?
Well, with this particular movie, I think removing him wouldn't necessarily fix anything, but, like, if you removed him from the prequels altogether, it'd probably be better, because at least the second and third movie are a little bit better than the first movie. Whereas the first movie's like, oh yeah, we're going to put politics, and we're going to put a forced love story, and, oh yeah, people are going to die that are not important to the story, I guess, now.
Yeah. Okay.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I guess with that, we're going to take our second break, and then we're going to come back and do some Star Wars trivia.
Heck yeah. See you guys in
Woo!
a minute.
All right, we are back, and it's time for some trivia.
We are ready for trivia. But before, I just have to say thank you, Kaitlyn, for recommending that
Yes.
we watch Star Wars movies.
Yes.
We've been watching horror movies because of spooky season, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice for someone to recommend a comedy for us to watch. It's very refreshing.
Very refreshing. I see what you did there. All right, let's get on with the trivia. I also apologize, Jack. I completely nullified one of your trivia questions by talking
I was
about it
gonna
on the
ask
podcast.
who suffered severe emotional trauma.
Jake
but-
Lloyd. Oh, that poor kid. Okay, I will start then. I will start with my question.
Okay.
So, do you know the improv show Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yes.
Okay. This movie has a cast member from that improv show among its lengthy cast. Who is it, and what did they play?
Whew. Oh boy, I don't. Oh, I can try and guess what character.
Are you talking the original cast of Whose Line or the cast that they have now?
I guess I can say he's not like, I mean, it has like a very varying cast, but it is one of the he was on the original Whose Line Is It Anyway with Drew Carey.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know any of like the cast by name. I'm just trying to think of a character that it might have been. Was it the two-headed announcer?
It was.
Oh, I got it.
It was Greg Proops. He plays Fode, which is the English-speaking pod racing announcer.
Okay.
So, Greg Proops also does Disney Channel work. Like I believe he just started to be, or at least was in a Disney Channel comedy recently, but I don't remember the name of it. But yeah, he's a funny guy, and I Googled it because I was listening to it, and I'm like, that guy's voice sounds really familiar.
Yeah.
And then I Googled it, and I'm like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah, I do you know like any of the other movies that he was in, like off the top of your head? Because you're right, he does sound really familiar. And I don't really watch that much of Whose Line Is It Anyways. Usually just in school I would see clips of it. No, yeah, he does sound familiar.
Yeah.
I wonder if, because obviously he's a star on an improv show, I wonder like if George Lucas gave him a script or if he was just improving.
I wonder. I mean, definitely. I mean, the guy can improv. He is very funny. I've seen numerous clips of Whose Line Is It Anyway on YouTube. Very, very good at what he does.
Would you say that you guys like the two-headed announcer? Like his inclusion in the pod
do.
race?
I do. I mean, it definitely adds to the kind of campiness of the pod racing scene
Okay.
and like of Star Wars. But I mean, it's still very funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking up Greg Proops's what is it, filmography.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't look like anything other than like small roles in like sitcoms.
Okay.
Like Disney, Nickelodeon, that kind of stuff. But he's a very, very talented guy.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go next?
Sure. All right. Who missed the NYC premiere of this film due to schooling?
Oh, I know. Do you want to take a guess?
If I had to guess, it's either the guy who plays or the kid who plays young Anakin, or Natalie Portman, because those two would have been grade school or schooling age at the time.
I would say Natalie Portman.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, nice.
She was finishing up high school when I think she was having like finals during the New York City premiere of the film. So she could not attend because she had to finish high school, which it's just weird to think about. But yeah, like obviously, I mean, she's an 18-year-old girl.
Yeah,
she's got to finish high school.
Yeah, like probably 18. She's a senior, so
Right.
finals definitely were really important for her.
Although I doubt she actually needed much of the what her school provided her.
I mean, with
Unless she was like acting.
Well,
But
after the success of Phantom Menace, then
yeah.
All right, my next trivia question: who is credited as playing Jabba the Hutt in the credits?
Ooh. Daniel Day-Lewis?
I was gonna stop you earlier, but it's actually a trick question. Jabba the Hutt is listed as played by himself.
Really?
Yes.
What?
And I found that really, really funny.
Huh, that's weird.
It's just Jabba the Hutt himself.
Yeah. Oh, poor guy who had to do that and got no credit for it. But
It's just for this movie, though.
oh, okay, gotcha.
Just for this movie.
Was it unanimous? Like, did the same voice actor do Jabba the Hutt over like the course of Star Wars? Do you think?
I have no clue. I mean,
Did he
I
have a line in Phantom Menace?
I think he kind of just like bit the head off a lizard and like snored.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
Oh yeah, I don't know if he
well.
did say anything. Yeah. Yeah, I suppose if you don't have any lines, then you don't really need to be listed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. My next question. I'm curious to see if either of you will know this. What other actor was considered... Actually, I shouldn't even say actor. What other celebrity was considered to play the role of Mace Windu? Obviously, we know Samuel L. Jackson played it in the films. But before that was finalized...
Ooh, that's tough.
It was another black actor.
Okay.
Or celebrity.
The way you keep saying celebrity makes it think it's not that makes me think he's not an actor.
I don't remember his name off the top of my head.
No, he was not a comedian, at least not primarily.
I'm giving up. I don't have any sort of guesses.
All right. Before Samuel L. Jackson was cemented in time and history as the actor who played Mace Windu, Tupac Shakur was very interested in playing the role of Mace Windu.
Oh, so he was interested in auditioning. Like Tupac was interested in auditioning, or was he being? Oh,
and well, he was interested in playing the part, and they were considering him because of the interest that he took in it. Because apparently Tupac was a giant Star Wars nerd.
That's so cool.
Yeah, he really wanted to be in the movie.
Wow.
I don't think his death had anything to do with him not getting cast as Mace Windu. I think Samuel L. Jackson was cast before he had died. But yeah, it's just, it's very hard for me to watch bits of the prequels now with Mace Windu in them because now I wish, like...
Because that would have been really cool.
I wish, like, what other universe is out there where Tupac plays Mace Windu? I want to live in that universe.
I want to live in that universe, yeah.
Oh, man, it's just, what a loss.
The only disappointing thing about Samuel L. Jackson being in the movie is that he does not talk about the Avengers Initiative. He does not recruit anybody.
No.
And also does not drop a single F-bomb, which he would have...
Okay. Obviously, we can't swear on the radio.
No, we can't.
But he had the F word engraved on his lightsaber while being bad mother F word.
Oh.
Engraved onto his lightsaber prop during the filming.
That's a power move.
I believe he kept it too. I think he's still got it.
If there was any prop that I could steal from a Star Wars set, it would be a lightsaber.
Yeah, he really went all out and like got it genuinely customized. So.
We love that for him.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Kind of hopping off of that with my last question. This movie contains an inconsistency regarding the lightsabers used by Jedi that is not ever really touched in the other movies. What is it?
Isn't it the coloring of the lightsabers?
It does not have anything to do with the color, no.
Inconsistency. So, like, are you saying from, like, scene to scene the lightsabers switched? Or, like, between this movie to the next one?
No, it's more like a fact about the lightsabers that is not kept consistent throughout the other movies.
Shoot, I don't know.
Okay, so in other movies, lightsabers are seen to cauterize a wound as soon as it makes contact with a body. Like when Darth Vader cuts off Luke's hand, there's no blood. It's just a stump. Mm-hmm. But in this movie, there is visible blood seen when Obi-Wan cuts Darth Maul in half. There is like a blood. It's CG blood,
it's weird.
Still,
it's like a powder that
it's almost like
he
just like poof, like he just like. It's very weird, but it's still technically considered blood, even though it's kind of it was kind of a proven fact in the other movies that lightsabers they deal damage and also cauterize wounds so that there's no blood. And I think that was also done to keep a PG rating on the movie.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But, yeah, that was just kind of a weird little factoid that I found interesting.
Interesting, yeah. All right, next question. How many total shots were there in this film that featured no special effects whatsoever?
Ooh.
Purely natural, was not touched up with any CGI.
I would have to say not many. Because there's a lot of characters that are completely CG, mm-hmm. even in the outside like extra scenes. Like there are some CG characters.
Yeah, Kaitlyn, you got a guess?
Oh,
a number?
A number? I don't know. Probably less than 20 or 30.
I don't know if it's a trick question.
No, it's not a trick question.
Oh.
It is just.
I can think of at least one scene that doesn't have any CGI extras in it.
The opening crawl.
I mean, you're not wrong. No, the one where they're like on the ship and they're talking to Padme.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess.
Pretty confident that there's no CGI characters in that one.
From what I read online, so it's possible this could be wrong. I don't know where they're getting their information from. Apparently there was only one shot in the movie that featured no special effects. And the only shot that didn't feature special effects was the shot of gas pouring out of an air vent. It's like a 1.5 second long shot. And
that's the only one?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I suppose like even with that, like, you know, in the ship where they're talking to Padme,
yeah.
I wonder if they didn't have to use CGI just for like some
like
of the
background,
interior,
or like
backgrounds.
if there's a window or something.
Right. I think the backgrounds of the ship might have been
modified at least slightly.
Right, because it would have been green screen that they shot those on, and I suppose that you would count that as a special effect.
Yeah, I would count green screen as a CGI effect.
Yeah.
But
so that was very interesting.
Yeah.
To find that out. Although I'm sure that's how it is nowadays with like Marvel movies.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there's very few non-CGI laden shots anymore. So.
Yeah. Well, that's all the questions I have. Do you have anything else?
I have one more.
Oh, you do?
How many lines of dialogue does Darth Maul have?
Did you say earlier that it was only like 2?
I think it might be around that, so I'm going to ballpark 4.
You going with 2?
Sure.
It is 3.
3!
He's
Right
got
in the middle.
3
Dang
lines. And I could not tell you what those lines are. At last we will have our revenge. I think that's one.
One of them, at least.
He goes, when he gets sliced in half. I don't know if Google's counting that as a line of dialogue.
That's a line.
Yeah, but his
3.
special effects look great.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about his appearance for a long time already.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess then we can kind of move into our final thoughts and our overall reviews for this movie.
Yeah. Kaitlyn, would you like to start?
Sure. So I think overall, this movie, as much as it does have quite a few problems, I'm sure for its time, the CGI and the special effects were probably, like, revolutionary. But at the same time, if you compare them to the originals, which came out before them, the originals look way better. And the characters don't act like cardboard like they do in the prequels.
Totally.
And they
Yeah.
don't have annoying characters. Like, the people from the originals are actually likable characters, and it's a good story, whereas the prequels really fall short on that.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So how would you rate this movie out of 10? This is kind of how we end the episodes, is rating each movie out of 10.
Oh boy, out of 10? I don't know, probably 0. I legitimately don't like it.
No redeeming quality. Just
Dang.
0. All right. Do you want to go next or me?
Sure, I can go next. This movie is poo-poo. It is not good. Very few, if any, redeeming qualities. You really have to stretch to find something other than the music. Music is hands down fantastic. You don't have to pretend or stretch the imagination for that. Everything else is just a mess. And I am not, this is not an original thought or opinion. This has been echoed by thousands of fans for probably 21 years now. So I am not the first, and I will definitely not be the last to say that this movie is awful, awful, awful. And I'm giving it a 2 out of 10.
All right. Now here's me about to sound real stupid. I'm one not to be like too critical about movies. Like I said before, like a lot goes into making a movie, and not all of those facts should completely go out the window, because this movie is not that great. But yeah, I do have to kind of second what's already been said. Like there is definitely more that is not good with this movie than is good with this movie. And as much as I love it for nostalgia reasons, like for watching it, and like we mentioned before, like I was first exposed to the Star Wars franchise through the Lego Star Wars games.
Oh, really?
So, but like the entire nostalgia of Star Wars lies with this movie for me.
Sure.
And so I'm going to leave it at a generous 3 out of 10.
Okay. That's a very legitimate point, because this is... Our parents would have grown up with the original Star Wars, and this is our generations. Obviously, we weren't old enough to see it in the theaters, but these were the ones that were soonest to the times that we were growing up. They would have been the most recent anyways. We probably were all mid-teenagers by the time the sequels started to come out. So, yeah, I think a lot of people do like it for that reason. It's just the first Star Wars that they were ever exposed to.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for that, I can understand why someone might like this movie. Maybe more than others.
All right, well, I guess that's it from us. We just reviewed The Phantom Menace. Did some really good talking. I really like this episode was really, really fun. Thank you, Kaitlyn, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And being here. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will be taking place next Monday, where Jack and I review The Evil Dead.
Woo!
I'm excited.
So excited.
I'm so excited about that one. So we're keeping Spooky Month going on strong, and even though it may only be for one more week, then Spooky Month is over, but we do still plan to carry over Spooky Month into November a little bit, because there's just so many movies that we want to talk about in such a short period of time where spooky stuff is acceptable.
Yeah.
But
if we really can't think of any Thanksgiving movies besides Thanksgilling.
We are not talking about
and I don't think
Thanksgilling.
that Lauren wants to talk
No.
about those movies.
It's so gross. I don't.
If anybody, if anybody can recommend a good Thanksgiving movie, let us know. Well, Jack, where are you going to tell us this information? Where am I going to tell you this information? Well, we have a Twitter account.
Yes, we
have
do.
an Instagram account. We have a Facebook account that is temporarily
it's in the works. It's in the works.
Where you can send us questions, comments. We will start posting more regularly on those.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please feel free
We're still
to go.
working on getting our logo up on them and making sure everything's set in stone for everything. We also do plan to start posting on a YouTube channel where we're going to have kind of an archive of our episodes that we've done already. Like our first couple from Lights Out, our episode about killer clowns from outer space. They may not all be the best quality because we didn't record the first couple episodes professionally, but I mean, you can still hear what we're talking about, so I guess that's what matters.
Yeah.
So,
like Kaitlyn said, we got to set the bar low so we can seem better when we get our professional microphones. But no, yeah, this episode will be available on YouTube in a few days, and as well as our a few of our older ones. The Blade Runner episode was unfortunately lost.
It was sadly lost, which is so sad because that was such a good episode.
Yeah, so if you listen to that, you're one of the
only ones. So
few.
I mean, I guess that just gives us an incentive to redo that episode.
I mean, if we discuss Blade Runner 2049, we can most definitely revisit.
Yeah,
aspects
Evan
of that.
will be coming back to the podcast. We want Evan back,
as well as Kaitlyn.
The
next time Kaitlyn comes back, we will be reviewing Attack of the Clones. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess that's it from us.
All right. Good night, guys.
Have a good night.